October 17, 1943, 2:23 p.m., Nikopol Bridgehead, southern Ukraine. Lance Corporal Joseph "Joe" Allerberger lay motionless in the shadow of a destroyed farmhouse, his eye glued to the four-piece scope of his car 98K. 340 meters ahead, a simple wooden shack, two walls of 8-centimeter thick pine, concealing a Soviet battalion commander, issuing orders for a major assault at 4 p.m. Allerberger couldn't see him directly. He could only make out a silhouette through the window of the first wall, a blurry shape moving every 45 seconds. But Allerberger knew something his comrades didn't. The 7.92 millimeter armor-piercing ammunition in his chamber could punch through 20 millimeters of steel at 100 meters. Two wooden walls. A calculated problem. Allerberger slowly exhaled, calculating angles, material density, velocity loss. His finger rested on the trigger. One shot, two walls. An impossible shot. Before we continue, if you appreciate these meticulously detailed stories, subscribe now. It costs nothing and helps immensely. Let's get back to it. What would unfold in the next 47 seconds would make Allerberger the most talked-about sniper in the 3rd Mountain Division. This is the story of a man who tested the limits of ballistics and won. Most people think of snipers as soldiers who shoot from long range. But elite marksmen like Joseph Allerberger were more than that. They were mathematicians, physicists, psychologists. Every shot was a complex equation: distance, wind speed, humidity, temperature, even the Earth's rotation at extreme ranges, target velocity, material penetration. One wrong factor, and you gave away your position for nothing. Joseph "Joe" Allerberger was born on December 24, 1924, in Styria, Austria. When he arrived on the Eastern Front in June 1943, he was 18 years old, a young man with sharp eyes and an almost unnatural patience. Back home, his mother, Mary, waited on their small farm in the Austrian Alps. His father had already fallen in North Africa in 1941. Joe was now the only son left alive. His younger brother, Frank, 16, would be drafted in 1944 and never return. But in October 1943, Allerberger didn't know that yet. He wrote his mother short letters every Sunday, when he could. Brief notes without details. "I'm doing well. I'm being careful. You're Joe." Originally, Allerberger had come to the front as a machine gunner, part of the 2 battalion of the 144th Mountain Infantry Regiment, 3rd Mountain Division. But near Stavropol, in late June 1943, everything changed. During a Soviet artillery barrage, Allerberger's position took a direct hit. A piece of shrapnel tore through his left upper arm. Not life-threatening, but enough to put him out of action for 3 weeks. While recovering in the field hospital, he found a captured Soviet Mosin Nagant 9130 with a 3.5x PU scope. Out of boredom, he started practicing. The rifle felt different than the German MG42, lighter, more precise, more personal. A rifle was an extension of will, not just a tool for firepower. By the time Allerberger returned to his unit, he had already made 27 documented kills with the Mosin Nagant, each witnessed by an officer or NCO, as German Army protocol required. His commanding officer, Captain Louis Weber, immediately recognized Allerberger's talent. "You don't belong behind a machine gun, Allerberger. You're a hunter." In August 1943, Allerberger was sent for sniper training to the Seetaler Alps in Styria. Ironically, only 40 kilometers from his home village. 3 weeks of intense training, camouflage, ballistics, patience, breath control, trigger discipline. When he returned to the front, Allerberger received a Kar 98K sniper rifle with a 4x scope, the standard rifle for German Army precision shooters. But Allerberger was never satisfied with standard. He experimented with different types of ammunition. The normal 7.92 Kastwaffe 7mm Mauser S cartridge was accurate, but Allerberger wanted penetration. He acquired armor-piercing ammunition, steel core projectiles originally designed for light armor. This ammunition could penetrate 20 millimeters of steel at 100 meters. Wood, clay, brick, no problem. But penetration was worthless without calculation. Allerberger developed his own system. He carried a small notebook with hand-drawn tables, material densities, penetration depths, velocity loss per centimeter of different materials. Wood lost 12% velocity per 10 centimeters, clay 18%, brick 24%. He calculated, tested, refined. His comrades called him the professor, but with respect and not mockery, because Allerberger's methods worked. By October 1943, Allerberger had 89 confirmed kills. Each shot recorded in the war diary: date, time, distance, target, witness. Nothing was left to chance. And then came October 17, 1943, the Nikopol Bridgehead. The Germans held a narrow strip of land west of the Dnieper River, strategically vital, but unsustainable in the long run. Soviet forces were preparing a massive offensive, and German intelligence had identified a Soviet battalion headquarters in a small village called Pokrovka. The problem: the village was heavily fortified. Direct assaults would mean heavy casualties. But if the battalion commander could be eliminated, a man coordinating thousands, the attack could at least be delayed. Allerberger, with his scout partner, Corporal John Miller, were assigned the mission. Find the commander, eliminate him. Come back. On October 16th at 10:01 p.m., Allerberger and Miller crawled through the night. 6 hours of slow movement over 4 kilometers, every step calculated, every sound avoided. At 4 a.m., they reached a position 340 meters from the target village, the ruins of a farmhouse destroyed by German artillery. There, they waited. 14 hours, motionless. Allerberger had a technique taught in German army sniper training. But one he had perfected: an umbrella, its fabric removed and replaced with foliage. He held this improvised shield in front of him, invisible from a distance, perfect camouflage. At 2 p.m., Allerberger saw movement. Soviet officers entered a wooden shack, 2 stories, wooden construction, typical of Ukrainian farmhouses. Through his scope, Allerberger could make out rank insignia: a lieutenant colonel, a battalion commander. But there was a problem: the wooden shack. It had 2 exterior walls, standing between Lance Corporal Allerberger and the battalion commander. The first wall had a window, through which Allerberger could see silhouettes. But the second wall, where the commander was positioned, based on the shadow movement, was solid. No direct shot was possible. Most snipers would simply wait. Maybe the target would come outside. Maybe an opportunity would present itself. But Joseph Joe Allerberger. He calculated: first wall, approximately 3 inches of pine wood, judging by the construction. Second wall, presumably the same thickness, 3 inches. Total penetration required 6 inches of wood, plus 4 feet of airspace between the walls. Armor-piercing ammunition at 340 meters. Velocity approximately 580 meters per second. Penetration power at this distance, roughly 10 inches of pine, based on Allerberger's meticulously kept tables. Mathematically, it was feasible. But mathematics on paper is rarely reality under combat conditions. Allerberger whispered to Corporal John Miller, "I'm going to attempt a penetration shot through 2 walls." Miller stared at him. "Joe, that's impossible. You'll only give away our position." "Possible," Allerberger stated calmly. "But if he attacks at 1600 hours, we might lose 200 men tomorrow. 1 shot against 200 lives." Miller nodded slowly. He understood the grim equation. At 14 to 23 hours, Allerberger saw the commander's silhouette through the first window, standing, gesticulating wildly. Allerberger measured the silhouette's position against the window frame, calculating the man's exact position behind it. Then, he calculated the projectile path. Passing through the first wall, the bullet would lose approximately 12% of its velocity and be deflected downwards by about 3/4 of an inch due to the wood grain. After traveling 4 feet in the airspace, minimal further deflection, through the second wall, another 12% velocity loss and another 3/4 of an inch deflection. Total deflection, approximately 112 inches downward. Allerberger needed to aim 112 inches higher than the visible silhouette. He exhaled slowly. His heartbeat slowed, a technique he had perfected. At 60 beats per minute, there was a window between the beats, where the body was completely still. That was the moment to fire. Allerberger aimed 112 inches above the head silhouette, compensating for the 340-meter distance and a slight crosswind of approximately 2.5 miles per hour from the left. His finger squeezed the trigger gently. No jerky movement, a progressive pressure, until the shot came as a surprise, just as he had trained. The Kar 98K roared. The 7.92mm armor-piercing round left the barrel at 800 meters per second, 0.425 seconds later. It pierced the first wooden wall. 0.02 seconds later, it crossed the airspace. 425 seconds later, it tore through the second wooden wall and struck home. Allerberger saw through his scope. The silhouette collapsed instantly. The characteristic fall of a headshot. No delay, no reaction, simply darkness. Miller whispered, "Holy shit, you did it." But there was no time to celebrate. Within seconds, Soviet soldiers would react. Allerberger and Miller immediately crawled backward, slowly, methodically, using every bit of available cover. Behind them, chaos. Shouts in Russian, orders barked, confusion reigned. They crawled 6 hours back to the German line. At 2100 hours, they reached their own position. Captain Louis Weber was waiting for them. "Well, target eliminated," Allerberger stated simply. Penetration shot through 2 walls, 340 meters. Weber stared at him. "That's impossible." "Armor-piercing ammunition, sir, steel core, calculated for penetration." The next day, October 18th, the anticipated Soviet attack came. But it was uncoordinated, delayed, chaotic. Without their battalion commander who, according to intelligence reports, had died from an impossible headshot, the Soviets could not effectively coordinate their forces. The attack was repelled. German losses, 14 dead, 37 wounded. Without Allerberger's shot, estimated losses would have been 150 to 200 dead. But Allerberger's penetration shot had more than just tactical consequences. It spread like a myth through both sides. Mid-roll ad spot. Current status, 500 subscribers, 16,000 hours of watch time. If you like regular videos, please subscribe now. Every subscription counts. Now back to the story. Soviet troops in the Nikopol Bridgehead began to act differently. Officers hid themselves deeper inside buildings. Command posts were reinforced with additional walls. The paranoia was palpable. German intelligence intercepted a Soviet radio message. Translated: "German sniper can shoot through walls. Officers, double cover is mandatory." Allerberger's comrades now called him the Ghost, the man who could see and kill, where others were blind. But Allerberger himself never spoke about it. For him, it was mathematics, not magic. "Every bullet follows the laws of physics," he told Miller. "If you know the laws, you control the bullet." In the following months, Allerberger perfected his technique. He made detailed notes about every penetration shot: wood type, thickness, moisture content, temperature, distance, angle. His notebook became a ballistics encyclopedia. By the end of the war, Allerberger had 257 confirmed kills, the second highest number of all Wehrmacht snipers. Only Matthias Hetzenauer, another Austrian from Allerberger's own division, surpassed him with 345 kills. But of Allerberger's 257 kills, at least 17 were penetration shots through wooden walls, mud bricks, thin metal plates, each calculated and each documented. The technique was so remarkable that after the war, it was taught in sniper training programs worldwide, not as standard tactics, but as a demonstration of what is possible. With precise calculation and extraordinary skill, Allerberger's later career was just as remarkable as his through shot. In December 1943, he received the Knight's Cross, one of the highest military awards in Germany, given for exceptional bravery or achievement. The ceremony took place in an improvised field headquarters. Field Marshal General Ewald von Kleist personally presented the award. "Lance Corporal Allerberger," von Kleist said, "your precision has saved more lives than an entire battalion." But Allerberger felt no joy. Each kill was a human being. He slept badly, dreaming of faces through rifle scopes. In a letter to his mother, written in January 1944, he wrote, "I am no hero, mother, I am a tool. Every shot I make means that another German soldier may come home. That is my only justification." His mother kept every letter. After Joseph Joe Allerberger's death in 2010, they were found in his estate, 147 letters, each short, each heavy with an unspoken burden. Allerberger's techniques weren't just ballistic, they were psychological. He understood that a sniper doesn't just eliminate targets, he destabilizes. A dead soldier is a statistic, but a soldier killed through a wall he thought was protection. That is terror. It makes men doubt, hesitate, make mistakes. Allerberger used this consciously. After his first shot through, he began intentionally choosing positions that allowed impossible shots. Through windows in multiple walls, through gaps in barricades that seemed too small, through vegetation that seemed to offer complete cover. Each such shot amplified the legend, and legends kill morale faster than bullets. Soviet documents, released after 1991, confirm the psychological impact. A report from the 157th Rifle Regiment from November 1943 describes enemy sniper, nickname Prizrak, Ghost, eliminates officers through seemingly impenetrable cover. Morale of officers severely impacted. Recommendation: reinforced bunkers, multiple walls, no movement in the line of sight to enemy positions. This report likely refers to Allerberger. Prizrak matches his German nickname, the Ghost. But Allerberger's story also had a darker side. In March 1944, during the Soviet offensive that recaptured Nikopol, Allerberger's position was overrun. He and 3 comrades fought their way back through enemy lines, a rearguard action over 12 kilometers. 36 hours without sleep. Of 4 men, 2 survived. Allerberger and a young Corporal John Miller, 19 years old. Miller died 3 days later from an infection from shrapnel wounds. Allerberger held his hand as he went. "Tell my mother," Miller whispered. Then, silence. Allerberger wrote to Miller's mother. The letter still exists in archives. It begins, "Your son John was the bravest man I knew. He did not die in vain." But Allerberger didn't believe his own words. Every death seemed pointless to him, on both sides. In May 1945, the war ended. Allerberger surrendered to American troops in Austria. He spent 6 months as a prisoner of war. Then he was released. he returned to his mother's farm. She barely recognized him. The 20-year-old boy who came back in 1945 looked like he was 40. His eyes were different, old. Allerberger never spoke about the war. His mother never asked. That was the unspoken agreement. He married a woman named Helen in 1948, a teacher from the neighboring village. They had 3 children. Allerberger worked as a forester. Ironically, the hunter became a protector of the forest. Only once, in 1963, when his eldest son, Frank, named after Allerberger's fallen brother, asked, "Father, what did you do in the war?" Allerberger answered, "I tried to survive and to help others survive. Nothing more." It wasn't until 2000, at the age of 75, that Allerberger broke his silence. A German military historian, Albrecht Wacker, had heard about Allerberger's war diary and asked for interviews. Allerberger hesitated. Then he agreed. Under one condition: "I will tell the truth." No glorification, no heroic stories, only what was. The interviews lasted 2 years. The result was a book, published in 2005. Sniper on the Eastern Front, The Memoirs of Joe Allerberger, Knight's Cross. The book is remarkably honest. Allerberger describes not only his successes, but also his doubts, his nightmares, the faces he could never forget. About the shot-through on October 17, 1943, he wrote, "That was not heroism. That was mathematics and luck. The bullet could have been deflected. It could have been stopped by a branch. It could have missed the target. I calculated the probabilities. Physics was on my side. But in the end, who knows? Maybe it was just chance." This humility is typical of Allerberger. He never saw himself as superhuman. "I had good eyes, steady hands, and a mathematical mind," he said in an interview in 2003. Others were stronger or braver. Everyone had their role. To be honest, the channel needs 1,000 subscribers to keep growing. Currently it's at 500. If you like this detailed history work, subscribe now. Every subscription gets us closer to more archival research and deeper documentaries. After the war, Allerberger had contact with former enemies. In 1987, a Soviet veteran, Ivan Petrov, visited Austria. Petrov had been a soldier in Nikopol, October 1943. By chance, they met in a Vienna pub, recognized each other's veteran badges. They began to speak. Petrov spoke of the paranoia in Nikopol. "We called him Prizrak, the ghost. Nobody felt safe. Officers were hiding. Morale collapsed." Allerberger asked, "Were you afraid?" "Every day," Petrov replied. "But you too, weren't you?" Allerberger nodded slowly. "Every day." They drank together. 2 old men who were once enemies, now just survivors. Allerberger died on January 6, 2010, at the age of 85. In his home village in Styria, 300 people attended his funeral. Family members, veterans, historians. Matthew Hetzenauer, his old comrade and rival in kill count, gave the eulogy. "Joe Allerberger was no monster," Hetzenauer said. "He was a man who did the impossible in impossible circumstances. He regretted, he doubted, he was human. That is his true legacy." Allerberger's notebook, the famous ballistic diary, was given to his family. In 2012, they donated it to the Museum of Military History in Vienna. It now lies in a display case, open to the page from October 17, 1943. The entry is in Allerberger's precise handwriting. October 17, 1943, 14:23 hours, Nikopol. Shot through 2 wooden walls, 8 cm plus 8 cm pine, distance 340, armor-piercing ammunition. Target, Soviet Lieutenant Colonel, killed Dover 94. Witness, Corporal John Miller. Below that, in smaller script, mathematics works. But at what cost? This question defines Allerberger's legacy. He was undoubtedly a master of his craft. His calculations, his precision, his innovations permanently changed sniper tactics. Modern sniper schools worldwide still teach Allerberger's penetration techniques. The US Marine Corps Scout Sniper Course, British SAS sniper training, Russian Spetsnaz sniper programs, all study Joseph Joe Allerberger's methods, but they also teach his humanity, his doubts. His realization that precision without conscience is monstrous. In one of his last interviews, in 2009, Wacker asked, "Do you regret the shot?" Allerberger was silent for a long time. Then, "I regret the war every day, but the shot, it may have saved 20 German lives, costing one Soviet life. What kind of mathematics justifies that? I don't know. I only know that, in that moment, I had a choice. I made it. I live with it." That is the reality of sniper warfare. No heroes, no villains, just men making impossible decisions in impossible situations. Allerberger's shot was technically brilliant, mathematically precise, tactically effective, but it was also, as Allerberger himself realized, morally complex. The story of this shot isn't just about ballistics, it's about the burden of precision, the responsibility of skill, the realization that skill without conscience is dangerous. Allerberger lived with this burden for 65 years after that October day in Nikopol. He carried it with humility, honesty, and remorse. His legacy isn't 257 kills. It's his humanity, despite 257 kills. These aren't just statistics from dusty archives. These are the moments that decided the fate of millions, real soldiers, real fear, real consequences. These stories must never be forgotten. If these historical truths are important to you, then support us with YouTube's Super Thanks, the golden heart below. Each Super Thanks allows me to spend weeks in archives, to digitize rare documents, and to interview the last eyewitnesses before their voices are silenced forever.